Special meeting. Let's not forget the exits in case of emergency to the rear and to the front out from the exits from the school. Our first act of business is to accept the resignation with the intent to retire of Dr. Mary Beth Iacobelli effective June 30, 2014. Is there a second? Any comments? Yes.
Dr. Iacobelli, I just want to thank you very much for your service to this district. As I told you, you have a very difficult job, and I have started to grow to really appreciate the hard work that you do. And so we will miss you, and I thank you for it. And I look forward to working with you throughout the rest of the year.
Mary Beth, I really appreciate your time and effort. I've never known a superintendent that has worked as hard and given so much of herself to her job. And I will miss our meetings, I will miss our association, and I want to wish you and your family the best in the months and years ahead.
Yes. Back on the town side, we've got some great work on the shared services end, where we partnered with the manpower of the vet in the town to achieve more professional service level for our residents and maybe thank you for working with the town to make this something we're proud of.
Thank you very much, and it's just been a pleasure to work here. I'm proud of the work that we have done. We still have 4 months together. I expect that we'll make the most of them. And while it's not always been, without resistance and contention, I think that the district has moved forward and is in a direction that will put the position of this town in a way that they will be in good shape moving forward. So thank you for your support, and it's been a pleasure partnering with the town.
Anyone else? We have a motion, we have a second. All those in favor of accepting Dr. Iacobelli's resignation effective June 30, please raise your hand. Thank you, Mary Beth. One of the reasons I wanted to have this meeting as soon as possible is March is typically when vacancies occur in school systems. And I think we need to talk about our initial steps in conducting a superintendent search. I, for one, I know of some consultant firms out there. One firm is actually has a representative in our area, but there are a number of them. They're associated with a lot of organizations, and I think it would be a good way to go. My only reservation is in spending $15,000 to $20,000, which is average cost for having a consultant. A consultant would come in, they would meet with various groups, they would have an opportunity for students, for parents, for board members, for concerned citizens at large to define what attributes they're looking for in a superintendent. And they would then bring it, he or she would then review applications, they would write our posting, and they would then bring us candidates for the board to review. Just keep in mind that when we conduct a search, the actual search committee is this board. We are the ones that in the final analysis make the decision on who we serve as superintendent. I don't know how the rest of you feel, but I certainly would lean toward having a consultant come in and lead the search for us, and I would do it ASAP. In addition to that, I think in talking to people in other districts, I think it would be advantageous for us to turn to our personnel and negotiations team to reach out and search for those consulting groups and bring one or two of them to the board so that we can meet with them and decide who we want to lead the search. But I think we need to narrow it down, and I look at that committee as a committee that would certainly serve in that purpose. So those are my thoughts in terms of our next step, because I want to get moving very, very quickly. There are vacancies out there already, and we want to get a strong candidate. Any thoughts?
I agree. I think we're kind of, we need to get moving quickly, and I think that's the best way to do it. They already have things,
That's right.
they already know who's out there. I learned, used someone who's really good, to find, how and stuff, so, entertain, I don't know, I've never used them, but.
KFC, yes, there are a lot.
Yeah, yes, yeah.
Okay. Sean?
With all due respect, I don't agree with that track. I think spending the money at the time when, quite frankly, we just laid somebody off, what's that, half their salary, $20,000. So I would like to see us go. I would like to see us go a similar routes to the way we attempted to go with the hiring of Mary Beth, and I know there's some kinks that need to be worked out, obviously, so we don't run into the same situation. But I think representatives from the different parent groups, representatives from within the school, a representative from the administration, maybe a representative from the Board of Ed, come up with a list of viable candidates that are then presented to the board, much like you said, Nancy. Whatever that number is, 3 people presented to the board for the board to make the ultimate decision, but those 3 people or 4 people, whatever that number is somebody that would be, that the community and the teachers and would feel good about. I don't think openness is important.
Anyone else? Yes.
That's a good approach, but if we can find money this year in this budget, which we don't know yet, it's not here, but if we do have the money, then maybe a search committee may be effective in that aspect to help us probably a little bit. I can see next year it's going to be a tough budget next year. But then again, I think we need to find out either this year whether how much money we have.
Yes.
Move to authorize the Board of Education to seek a consulting firm for the purpose of identifying a new superintendent and give the Personnel Negotiations Subcommittee the power to contact such firms and recommend a minimum of 3 to the board for our consideration.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Those in favor? Opposed? Thank you.
Do we need a motion that the Board of Ed is the search committee? Because a subcommittee of a search committee will be the consultant.
I think that's a wise thing to do. You want to make a motion?
Yes, sure. Motion to appoint the Board of Ed as the official search committee of the superintendent search.
Is there a second? Is there a second? Lori, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
What is, can you provide some explanation on that,
Yeah,
please?
we, by having the Board of Ed be the search committee, it gives us the flexibility during executive session to talk about strategy on that position. Also, we did this last time, the board was a search committee where we didn't choose to have a consultant who took charge of the actual search. But with this, it gives the board a lot of flexibility
discussion? There's a motion on the floor to have the board serve as the search committee for the superintendent search. All in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Thank you. Okay, the last item on the agenda. Discussion regarding recent attacks on the Board of Education, the superintendent, administrators, and staff, defamation of character and libel, and how the board is going to respond. Of late, really not of late, because it's been going on for quite some time, there have been public postings on the internet about staff members, about superintendent, about me, about the board, and I would like some direction from the board in terms of how we're going to deal with this. So I've asked Mary Beth, I've collected some items, and I've asked the superintendent to share with all of you, because I'm not sure all of you are aware or have seen some of these items. Did you make copies, Mary Beth? Yeah, I did not, but that's, okay, good. All right, so why don't you start, Mary Beth, and give people some of this evidence so that they can make a good decision.
Well, over the past several months, actually, I brought a couple of examples with me. Going back to last September, there was a posting on Patch. The headlines read, East Haddam Superintendent Sets Thief Free. And within this article, allegations about one of our staff members that were totally false. We had an internal investigation, police investigation, cleared this individual of any wrongdoing, yet their name appeared in this article with the clear inference that they were guilty of stealing. And again, as the headline read, that somehow the superintendent was, maintaining thieves within the district. Just not the case. And while this is certainly offensive to me as superintendent being referred to as a thief, I think it really, all of the publicity of this nature is really an offense to the community at large. We had another example of a parent going on Channel 3 and naming high school administrators by name, alleging that they were bullying students. Again, internal investigation, DCF investigation, responding to those allegations, cleared these administrators of any wrongdoing, yet the parent was on TV saying these administrators by name have bullied students. Most recently, it came to my attention, a Facebook posting that accuses board chair and superintendent of making threatening and harassing phone calls, again, none of which is true. And at this point, between administrators, teachers, staff members, the lies, the false allegations, and now, members of the board are being brought into this fray, as well as people on staff that are within shared services. At this point, I think that it bears some discussion about what the board's response is to these libelous, slanderous, untrue, false allegations that are being put out there in the public as true.
Thank you. I want to give you more specifics. These are about me. This is from Kay Nickerson's at Comcast.net. Here's a situation, and you get to make the call. Let's just say one day a car tries to blow by a standing school bus with red lights flashing. The bus driver stops the car and says to the driver, "You can't do that." The driver of the car replies with, "Do you know who I am?" The bus driver says, "You are the chairman of the Board of Education." The driver of the car says, "She is late for work as a principal of an elementary school," and blows through the standing bus with red lights flashing. Then the driver of the car has the unmitigated gall to call the bus driver later that day and threatens her job if the police are called. In addition, the superintendent of the school district also calls and harasses the bus driver. Wait, the story gets better. The Board of Education, of which the driver of the car is the chairman, learns of this incident, and the chairman admits to the infraction, and they do nothing. The Board of Education does nothing. The chairman is still on the Board of Education and is still the chairman. The definition of corruption is an impairment of integrity, virtue, and moral principle. And then there are a list of other people chiming in, go to the press, you know, that's exactly what's wrong with society today. Well, in looking at this, no, I did not blow through a standing bus with red lights on. School had not been dismissed yet. Mr. Spencer was in the car with me, and he verifies that he got out and went in the building and was in there by the time the bell rang. I was not serving as a principal of an elementary school. The superintendent wasn't calling anyone. She was out on medical leave. This is a joke, and we shouldn't stand for this. And quite frankly, I won't. And then there's another one. And they go on and on. Yeah, there's one from Charlie Dickinson. And this stuff, to me, it's got to be addressed. And Mr. Spencer heard about this, and he said, I feel compelled to write a letter. And I said, fine. To whom it may concern, on the afternoon of November 18th, Mrs. Haslam and I returned to the school from a student awards luncheon a few minutes before the last bell. As we pulled into the driveway in front of the building, I noticed a couple of buses were pulling in behind us and moving around her car to get into their positions. Buses are normally in position by the time the last bell rings. There were also a couple of buses that had arrived before us and were parked along the front of the school. I do not remember seeing any blinking lights on the buses. I got out and quickly watched as Mrs. Haslam proceeded to drive away from the front of the school. It wasn't until I was out of her car and heading into the school that the bell rang, marking the end of the school day. It would have taken additional time for students to leave class and head out to buses. Let me know if you need any additional information. How does the board want us to proceed? Because I, for one, think it's time that we protect our board, we protect our superintendent, we protect our staff, we have teachers, names now appearing on Facebook, and emails. This has got to be addressed. So how would the board like us to proceed? Because the superintendent and I are preparing to proceed.
I've been waiting. It upsets me that this has been going on since whenever that first Keith thing came out, and the board didn't appear to have an appetite for it then. Then the story on FSB comes out, didn't have an appetite for it then. All this other Facebook stuff, which we don't all have privy to, and some, private groups out there that we can't seem to access. What really upsets me is that individual Board of Ed members are FOIing information. So not only are we getting attacked from outside, we're also getting attacked from inside. Yeah, I agree. What do our lawyers say?
Well, Mr. Perry and I spoke to our board attorney, and he feels we need someone with expertise in these particular areas of defamation, slander, libel. He has recommended a couple of names to us, and we can proceed in that way. Our board attorney is an education attorney.
Yeah.
So that's what he's saying. Lori?
I have a problem, and I'd like to say that publicly, with Patch, because it is not a newspaper, it is not don't know who you're dealing with. So the whole thing was just a bunch of food. You know, it's just the cloud up there talking. Then the thing that you read, it did not mention my name, did it?
No.
Okay.
But you could put the pieces together.
Yeah, I'm assuming, you know, when I see something like that, I'm assuming it's Rocky Hill or Glastonbury. It's certainly not us, because I know it isn't us. I know that you didn't do that. So I do not want to condone any kind of bad talk or lies about anybody. On the other hand, I don't want to give credence and things that are so stupid. It's just really. So, but I think perhaps if we have a specific person with a specific slander that's obvious, then we take the lawyer and we go get them.
And we have that.
And people understand that's what will happen.
And just to clarify too, with the fact, you know, I know a lot of things are anonymous, but in this particular case, it wasn't anonymous. The person did have the courage to put their name to it. But even if it's anonymous, Patch does know who the people are.
Oh, Patch
and
knows.
if there's something on there, our attorneys can certainly act as who those people were, even though they're hiding behind some
I agree
stage.
that Patch knows, but that makes Patch even worse. They should never allow that.
Anyone else?
Plus, this becomes a legal document, anything that hits our email, so this is now out there, anybody can access this information, so now they know it's taboo. I think the other important thing too is that, you know, we're a great community, and this negativity is only affecting our kids. They see this, they see how we act as adults, and that's all I hope it stops. So we can move on.
Talking to someone the other day, and I'm old enough to remember back to 1954 when the Army McCarthy hearings were on television. Most of you probably have no idea who Joseph McCarthy is. But he was probably the sleaziest man who ever served in the United States Senate. And he was there in front of a quiet Boston judge by the name of Joseph Welch. And he was going on and on. And finally, Judge Welch looked at him and in his quiet voice said, Senator McCarthy, have you no shame? Is there no depth to which you will not sink in the pursuit of your agenda? There's an interesting word in there. Shame. People should be ashamed of themselves for saying this kind of stuff. But there is no shame. We can hide behind an internet, or we can hide behind what we do, and we don't really give a damn. Shame. And I say to this lady and to the rest of the people, shame on you. You want to say something about me? Here I am. Also, trust me, slander, defamation, and libel, a Board of Education as an organization can do nothing about it. But I do. And I've sued better. I really don't give a damn. Somebody in this world better stand up and say, you know what? Let's get this level of rhetoric in this community out of the gutter. Out of the gutter. Let's at least get to the curb. I'd like to see us a little higher than that. Let's like to try standing on the curb at least, instead of wallowing in the slime. And for those of you, and there are people sitting in this room, and you know who I'm talking about, I'm talking to you. If you got a problem with me about it, here I am. Shame on you. Shame on you for this. I know you're not, but shame on you. And anybody in here who thinks that this kind of gutter garbage is that, you ought to be telling them the same thing. But I doubt seriously there's another word that doesn't exist, and that's the courage to say it. Shame on you all. Thank you.
I don't think I can say it any better than that, but what I do want to say is, I'm sorry that, we may not always agree, but I'm sorry for the law, you've had to endure that. And, I think it's important that we take steps, because it could be Mike next time, it could be me next time, it could be Brian next time, and really, it has to come from
So what would the board like you to do?
Well, I for one would ask you to pursue what remedies as a board, be it policy or other actions we can take. I firmly believe that the way you get rid of slime is you clean it out before it gets in the way, and you don't let it get anywhere. You give it no traction. You take it on immediately, and you don't let it fester like this. Okay, and you do. And I think when it's directed at this board or this board's actions, we stop and we say, prove it. Don't run your mouth. Prove it. I spent my life dealing with kids, 14, 18-year-olds. And quite candidly, they have more honesty than this kind of garbage. They know better. The interesting thing is, hell, my 3-year-old grandchild knows better. So I think we should get a legal opinion about what our options are. And I think that there may be other actions that person might be able to recommend relative to things that we can do to address them, and we should. It is an embarrassment to this community. Some of you have been here a hell of a lot longer than I have.
Thank you. Is there a second? Is there a motion? Excuse me.
So,
Is that in the motion, Bill?
motion to authorize board chair and superintendent to seek legal counsel.
As to board response, with somebody who's an expert in the area of slander, slander generally is verbal, and libel generally is considered written. And I know that the general standard, and I'll ask an attorney who's sitting over there, who probably had to take a course in this at least. I believe that it has to be knowingly false and maliciously intended. I think those are some of the words I remember from. How am I doing? Okay. But so we need an expert in that. We can define those kinds of things and spell out what it is we can do. I appreciate our council and town council, but I think an expert in these kinds of things, their opinion for a couple of bucks. And if you want, I'll throw in my 20 right now, or 50 to pay for the lawyer's fee, so we don't have to charge the town, and we'll wind up with that on one of these things.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Thank you. Mary Beth and
I
I.
don't write the check.
Just
Tell me how
now.
much you want.
Mark, I'm sorry.
But just for the board's aware, the employees under the shared service wage, which is shared between applicable that are under attack in FYs. This is one FY, days, hold these together, and we are proceeding by the law to answer all questions. There's nothing to be hidden. The intent of the FY is looking at time cards, which are all perfectly correct. Overtimes are charged to the right areas, and it's upsetting to employees that are working far beyond the hours they're being paid to be under attack for issues are there. I'll put it, whether they're qualified for the positions that the town has jointly hired them for. In my opinion, they're overly qualified based upon the incredible jobs they do. I'm completely satisfied and proud of all of our employees and the jobs they do. It's harming their ability to do their job when they're under constant attack and scrutiny from our own residents and some of our own board members. So it needs to stop, but we're following the law, processing everything. We'll proceed.
Thank you. Any other comments?
I just will comment on that. I find that fascinating. So you think someone's not qualified? Why do you have to FOI? Why can't you just stand up at a meeting and say, listen, I have to disagree with so-and-so. I don't think they're qualified for the job, and these are my reasons why.
Or come into my office.
Well, never mind go to your office. Stand up and tell them. It's not behind closed doors. I spent 19 years as a principal. You think everybody thought I was good at my job? I'll give you the list. But at least they had the courage to look me in the eye and tell me so. That's what I'm saying. The courage to look me in the eye, not to play these kinds of Mickey Mouse games, because we all know what it's about. And Mickey Mouse is embarrassed that his name's changed.
I wish I did know what it was.
Well, I think it's just what the first selectman said. People question whether someone's qualified for a job, and they're trying to do this kind of to demoralize. The issue is stand up and say so. Stand up and say so. Have you no courage? Have you no courage? Or as Judge Welch says, have you no shame? Is there no depth to which you will not sink? And if you think I'm making that up, go check it out. I'm not.
Any other comments?
How much did that cost?
Yeah, that's the other thing.
Well, they
Yeah,
paid
Well,
for it.
you can only charge 50 cents a page. So there is probably $100 in reimbursement, but the time it takes to put these FOIs is far more than you can charge, which is unfortunate. The law does not allow you to charge.
But the taxpayer should know that when that happens, it's costing them a lot of money.
And it's costing our kids more. Because these fees, in terms of education, come out of our budget.
And in addition to the copies, we have to be very careful to redact any identifying information. So there's a process of redaction, and then we typically have it run through our attorneys to make sure that everything is, so there are attorney fees that get piled on. But the only fees that we can pass on to the requestor is the 50 cents a page.
And that's what I'm saying to the taxpayers.
Any other comments? Is there a motion to adjourn?
Now, before you go, I
Yes,
just
ma'am.
wanted to say that our state senator, Arlen Arias, is holding, is going to host a series of education forums in other towns. But I thought it might be helpful for some, I'll leave this here if anybody wants to see it. One is in East Hampton, for example. It would be interesting for people to see how other towns are upset also by the Common Core, and that this is very much from town to town. It's not just East Town.
And I would just say, today was Cade's Day on the Hill.
Yeah. And?
Did anyone go? Did you meet my kids?
Your kids?
My students were represented at my high school.
Oh, I didn't get to meet them.
Gee, that's too bad.
Were you there?
No, I had to teach.
Oh,
The kids
Both of
were
these
left.
points
But
are
I
really out
did
of
tell them
order.
to ask embarrassing
I
questions.
gotta tell you, it's okay, but you're really out of order because we hadn't stuck to the agenda, but it's okay. Thank you for saying something.
So moved to adjourn.
Is there a second? Second. All those in favor of adjourning?